it's important for us never to lose sight of the fact that we have power. Now, it may always not be enough to solve the problem, but it is certainly enough to begin the process of solution.
Joining me now is the Reverend Larry Simmons. He's the pastor at Baber Memorial A.M.E. Church on the west side in Brightmoor. He's also the executive director at the Brightmoor Alliance, and we've done a lot of work with him at Detroit Public Television. Pastor Simmons, it's good to see you.
Good to see you too.
How's everything going?
Well, as Dickens said, it's the best of times and the worst of times.
Yeah.
It's the best of times because we've seen community rally together in ways that we could only imagine before. And obviously it's the worst of times because so many of our citizens are suffering from this virus, and several have succumbed to it horribly. And so those are the worst of times. I have two members of my congregation who have come down with the virus. Mm-hmm. Thank God they seem to be okay.
Good, that's good news.
So they're processing through. We have one community leader. He and his wife had the virus. They have come through. They are now clear and clean, and they are, older. So they were in the high risk group. Mm-hmm. So it's, it's a time. It's different than anything any of us have ever seen because it's different than anybody has ever happened in the world. So we're managing.
And I feel like we're just kind of getting through, and day by day when news changes or situations change, how have you managed to, because people look to you for counsel or look to you for guidance about some of the fear and some of the what will life look like beyond this, especially in Brightmoor?
Well, fundamentally, fear is the emotion we have when we are confronted with a thing we don't believe we have the power to resist. That's what generates our fear response. And our emphasis has always been, in general, that all human beings have power. And so we have power even in COVID. If we eat right, if we eat green vegetables, if we eat fruit, we actually help our immune system, which is at this point the only cure for the COVID-19 is actually our own immune systems, which ventilators and treatments help to sustain us. And of course, I'm a man of faith. And so if you look on our website, we have listed there what we call the Brightmoor 5. The Brightmoor 5 says you face up, you believe, you space up, stay in if you can, stay 6 feet apart if you can. You clean up everything, the doorknob, your phone, your hands constantly. You cover up your mouth, cover up your face, cover when you sneeze, and doctor up. If you think you've got symptoms, call. There is help available. So don't be afraid, be empowered to resist this. Because most people, even those who get very sick, pass through it. They come out of it.
What is happening right now brings to mind, though, a lot of wider policy issues, access to healthcare, access to those leafy green good vegetables and produce we talk about that can help our bodies, access to water. This is exposing a lot.
It is. I would contend it is going to compel us to change fundamentally our disposition towards things like water. When you look at what has happened, water is not just a privilege for the person who receives it. It is a health imperative. When people don't have access to water, it means they cannot clean properly. And people who cannot clean properly are more subject to disease, which all of us can get. And so it's not really just COVID-19, but hepatitis B is a rampant problem in our community. And part of the cause of that is there's too many people who don't have access to water. And as you point out, for many of us in Brightmoor, except for Myers and 2 other stores, we're kind of a food desert. One of the things we're fighting back with, in fact, the community is organizing its own vegetable garden growing program this year. And all of our block clubs are partnering together to grow vegetables, which we will have be able to share among each other. It's important for us never to lose sight of the fact that we have power. Now, it may always not be enough to solve the problem, but it is certainly enough to begin the process of solution.
You know, I always think of kids in this circumstance as well.
Yes.
And we've had conversations about trauma. We've had conversations about stress that kids live under anyway.
Yes.
And in Brightmoor, what have families been talking to you about specifically during this time, and what we can do to help kids move through this, knowing that this is going to be shaping who they become?
Yes. I don't think yet a protocol has emerged for this particular situation. So there are some general things that we talk about always. If you love your child, hug them, talk to them, have a conversation. It can be about nonsense. Crazy as it may sound, sing to them and play with them. These things, which are fundamental always, are particularly important today. These 6 days that we talk about through the Hope Starts Here network is critical to helping children stay connected to us. And we have to convey to them, because we feel it ourselves, that we have power in the situation and we can manage this. It is a big issue. We speak a lot about what adults are going through, but from the point of view of a child, this is world shattering. Children rely on structure. They like patterns. They want to get up at a certain time. They want to have breakfast at a certain time. They want to go to school or whatever the rhythm of the household is. And all of that is disrupted today. All of it is disrupted. So we have to assure them constantly, reassure them constantly that we love them and that together we're going to get through this.
How would you kind of categorize, or what would you say in the next 2 months or so? And again, knowing that we don't exactly know what things will look like 2 months from now, but advocating for Brightmoor specifically, what would you like to be part of conversations for?
Health. Let me say health. We have to begin to realize that health is an equity issue. It's not just for the benefit of the recipient of the health services, it's for all of us. So health, number one, which means adequate nutrition. One of the things that Brightmoor Alliance does is we publish where you can get food in Brightmoor every day of the week that is made available. So health and nutrition, obviously employment. We're going to have to, and I know we talked earlier about political will. We've got to rethink how we allow people to participate in this new economy that's coming forth. Is the 40-hour work week still the way we want to structure our society, or are there other ways we can think about that? Is there such a thing as a minimum annual income? How do we think about that and make it available? Because here's what we know, and we can see this. The disparity in the deaths of African Americans is rooted in the disparity in healthcare and access to resources that we've long known characterize life in the African American community to too great a degree. Not all African Americans are confronted with that, but too many are. And as a consequence of that, we see rates of death from COVID virus that are literally 300 or 400 or 500% higher than other groups. That's intolerable in the United States. It's intolerable. So I would say, as I advocate for Brightmoor, I'm advocating that we get a healthcare center in our community, that we have access to good nutrition. We can talk about how that happens, and that we look for ways to elevate the income prosperity of the community in ways that strengthen it. And then, we talk about education, all those other things, they're important. But right now, nutrition, health, access to resources are the key.
Lieutenant Governor has just started a task force looking at the disparity between how the disease has impacted the Black community. Do you think that's enough, or what would you add to what he is already looking to corral? You think this is the first good step forward anyway?
I have not seen the makeup of the commission. Here's what I would say. When we were forming under the leadership of Skillman.
Yeah, a couple years
One
ago.
of the things we consciously did was to make sure that we have both Republicans and Democrats, public school officials and charter school officials, sitting around the same table and working through our issues to form a unified view about what we have to do for education. I hope that the governor is going to do the same thing, and that partners will come to the table from all of our different perspectives and recognize what we're looking at in real time. I'm sure, because I've had the privilege of meeting the governor once or twice, and of course I know the lieutenant governor well, I'm sure that they have a spirit to do that. But it's so easy to slide into our partisan corners. And as a result, the welfare and the well-being of our community suffers. So I would say, as they look at this, don't limit yourself. Be willing to look at sacred cows, both yours and theirs, whoever you are, whoever they may be. But let's look at our sacred cows and have the courage to say, we have to change. And we have to change because all of us suffer if we don't.
You've seen a lot in the city of Detroit. You've worked administration-wise, grown up here, and yes. Brightmoor has been through its share of struggles. Yes. How would you categorize what it's facing now, what the city is facing now, and I guess just a little perspective about how we move forward?
Well, I say with great pride that I am an old man. The Bible says, once I was young, now I am old. I've never seen the righteous of God hunger for bread. I'm one of the old guys. I'm 73 years old. And I say this because I wanted to be clear that I speak from a certain perspective. I was a young man when Detroit was probably in its last booming period, which was during the 60s and early 70s, when the automobile industry was really humming and most people had jobs. You could leave a job in the morning and get another job in the evening. It was a completely different time.
Yeah.
I have seen Detroit now begin the process of comeback. So I've seen both the best of Detroit's times. I've seen the worst. And I guess I would say this: we are the most resilient, inventive, grinding people, I think, in America. And I believe that the gifts to overcome this situation are already present in our community if we can find a way to do this instead of that. And that's what I would say going forward. We have to openly solicit participation and collaboration across all the aisles, political, spiritual. We have to reach to the other and invite the other into our space so we can together reason together. Because I believe that if we get together and make a decision, we're going to make the right one. It's like a jury. You get these 12 people in a room, they come from all kind of different places, all kind of education, but something magic happens in that jury room and in that process that they generally come back and get it right. That's the kind of coming together we need to have for our community right now in this moment. We have to come this way, not that way.
You can find more at onedetroitpbs.org or subscribe to our social media channels and sign up for our One Detroit newsletter.